Hi, so welcome back to Real Auto Reports right here at Real Auto Ranch for a real first impressions video edition on this 2015 BMW M4. The M4 has seen a lot of changes, including being called an M4 from the M3 Coupe. So we're excited to take a look at this vehicle, but there's also some cool things about the changes to the engine and so on and so forth that we're going to cover in this real first impressions and more detail in our real video, the real review. So stay tuned for that, and until then, let's do our walk around. All right, so from the front, the M4 is going to follow the naming convention of the new BMW standard. So it is an M4 because it is based off the 4 Series Coupe. Remember that back a little bit ago here, we changed so that all three, basically all odd numbers are the sedans and all evens are the coupes. So you have the 3 Series sedan now, and the M4 is based on the 4 Series Coupe. Now, I like this new design. I like the front end. We've liked it when we looked at the 4 Series as well. And to be honest, when we looked at the 335i about a year ago, when it came out with the new body, it has a nice wider shaped kidney grille here. You have a lot of ground effects down below. Notice the color keyed park assist, which makes it well, easier to park. And what's nice about this park assist is it seems to take into account the lower valence. So when you're parking in front of a parking stop, it does seem in many cases to warn you when that curb or parking stop is too high. Notice the detail lines that come off the A-pillars and create these lines that come through the hood, the slightly raised, it's not really a scoop because there's no opening, but the slightly raised bonnet area here of the M, which has been carried through from the previous editions, even those were called M3 Coupes. We like the halo lights that go around here. You can see them on from when we had the door open. And you can also tell that the whole car is coated in this really bright, some people call it obnoxious, but it is Austin yellow metallic, and it is quite the attention getter out on the road. So from the front, this is an aggressive looking car, and it really does make a statement. Let's go check out the side and see what it looks like from there. All right, so from the side, one of the things I wanted to point out first is if you look down the profile of the car, you see this little ducktail spoiler here built into the trunk lid. It kind of gives you this lift up, and you've got an inset curve. We'll show you that more as we go around the back of the car. But notice the strong detail line that comes out of the bevel here in the rear tail light, and it's the strong detail line that then curves into the M4 branding and scoop here in the front fender. Of course, you have your mirrors there with the turn signal lights in them, and notice this shape to the mirror where it's trying to control wind and the way that the air flows down the side of the car. Of course, the M has the blacked out trim, no chrome, so you'll notice the blacked out around it, and we have the carbon fiber roof up here on top. Notice the 19-inch black M wheels that we have on this edition, along with the M calipers in gold and the cross-drilled rotors. Now, the brakes on this car are severely upgraded. It's significantly more powerful than the 4 Series, even in the 435i. So this is going to be a car that stops on a dime, and this rubber being quite wide and quite, well, soft for the M Series is going to really try to grip the road and put all the power down. Talk about the power more when we get under the hood, but this is a fantastic looking car from the side. The body in the new 4 Series and now in the M4 with all of the effects package that you get with the M really makes it make a statement when it drives up. And of course, then there's the exhaust note as well. Let's take a look out back and see what it looks like from there. All right, so from the back, again, you'll see this detail in the rear trunk lid where it comes up and dips back in, giving you that nice ducktail kind of lip to it without actually having to have a spoiler back here on the rear of the M. It's a good looking vehicle, and all of the aero on this car is functional. This is a vehicle designed to glide through the air and hold the road. So the downforce and all of the aspects of the car are specifically tuned to keep it on the road and to make it handle like a race car. I mean, this is a vehicle that would be a handful on the track with all the traction control and computer systems turned off, but to a trained racing driver, they could really pull off a quick lap right out of the factory showroom. Now, when you look down here around the back, you're going to notice the cut-ins and the design. Also notice the color keyed park assist back here. You'll have your rear camera hanging down under the trunk lid there, and the dual exhaust with the multi-mode, which allows it to give you more and less performance depending on the modes you're selecting. And you can actually hear things clunking and changing when you switch from efficient to Sport Plus in the settings for the engine performance, the suspension, and the steering. So it's pretty cool. The other feature I'd like to point out from a first impressions is this right here. It opens all by itself, which I just think is a great part of any vehicle. When you have packages and stuff in your hand, whether you're driving a high performance car like this M4 or just your everyday sedan, this kind of feature is a neat one and always impresses me from a first impressions. The part I don't care for as much is the handle here underneath, where you have to grip and try to do something, you know, you gotta get your arm out of the way when you're shutting it. It's kind of this weird motion, but it's all in the pursuit of not messing up this Austin yellow metallic paint by putting your fingers prints and you're scratching it with your rings and your keys and all of that. All in all though, from the back, it's a great looking car. Nice taillights at night. You have the nice lined look that the BMWs have gone to. All very well designed and very high end from a looks perspective. So BMW is keeping their heritage in check with this M4 for 2015. Let's take a look inside at the light colored whitish interior, and then we'll go under the hood to check out the new motor that powers the 2015 M4. All right, so from the driver's seat here in the M4, well, what you're going to find is the Silverstone leather interior. That's this lovely kind of off-white leather. Must be a pain to keep on a daily basis, but it looks impeccable. And it's going to be two-tone here with the contrast stitching in the black, and then you're also going to have the same colored stitching here going along the Silverstone color. And it does have that kind of whitish silver tone to it. Think of it as a very light silver color, actually, if you want to be specific. It's very pretty. The inside of the vehicle has the aluminum dash pieces like you would expect in the M Performance Edition here. Of course, we have the M wheel because it is the M, and some interesting features like light up M badges in the back of the seat when you open the door at night. Of course, it's perforated leather, and we do have the heated seat package in here as well as right under here the memory seats. Of course, you've got all the tech that you'd expect: navigation, satellite radio, and a very odd feature is the dual clutch automatic transmission that we have in this particular model, which does not have a park button. And yes, figuring out how to put this car in park can really make you feel like a doorknob. But, you know, if you read the manual or you're just, well, fed up enough that you turn the car off, it will put itself in park. All in all though, it is fairly easy to use inside the systems if you're used to the BMW kind of way of doing things. If you're not, it's going to behoove you to at least take a tutorial from your dealer and to work with the car and read through the manuals and push buttons and see what they do. Of course, also in the M, because we do have this performance package with this car, you have your M settings, direct settings right here on the wheel, along with your other wheel controls, which will immediately put it into the M modes that you can preset, and that'll do things like immediately turn off the traction and anti-skid control and turn all the systems all the way up to Sport Plus. It's a quick setting, and it allows you to not have to mess with all the buttons that would do that and set the car up for the track. So it's pretty cool. All in all, it's great quality, great fit and finish, and a lovely look. And, well, it's typically BMW. Let's take a look under the hood and see the new kit that powers this BMW M4. All right, so under the hood, this is where you're going to find a lot of change in this M4. For 2015, out goes the V8 engine, the 4-liter with 425 horsepower and just under 300 foot-pounds of torque. Replacing it is this 3-liter, 6-cylinder, twin-turbo-powered engine, more similar to what you'll find in the 435i. But of course, they've cranked up the volume, and you again have about 425 horsepower and over 400 foot-pounds of torque, around 406. That gives this car a totally different driving personality, though, in 2015. With the dual clutch automatic that we have, the 7-speed, and its kind of semi-automatic nature, paired with the twin turbo, it really does change how this car drives from the previous generation. There's a little bit more of that turbo lag experience at the slow speeds, and it definitely packs a wallop when you get going and into the turbo band. The other thing is that you get that 400 foot-pounds of torque right about at 1800 RPM, and you get the 425 horsepower between 55 and 7600 RPM, the top of the red line. So this is quite incredible from a mechanics and just a technology perspective to be able to get this kind of power out of a turbo-powered engine and have it be as reliable as BMWs has tended to be over the years. Now, of course, this is new for 15, and we're going to have to see how enthusiasts like it, and we're going to have to drive it more before we can give you the detailed impressions. But our first driving impressions will be coming up next. The final thing to cover, well, not that it's needed in an M4, but the fuel economy is 19 miles per gallon combined by the EPA, so that's your city highway, and you'll see about 17 in town and 24 out on the highway, which is not bad for a vehicle that can rocket you 0 to 60 in just under 4 seconds in that 3.8, 3.9 range. And up here at altitude, we see less of a speed degradation in a car like this because it is forced induction with the twin turbos. So it's pretty cool for the mountain region. The thing is, can you put the power to the road with so much torque coming right at 1800 RPM? That's a lot of torque. It's well over 100 foot-pounds more than the previous generation. But I digress. We need to go drive this yellow bad boy. All right, so here we are for our real first driving impressions on this 2015 BMW M4. Now, what you'll notice is I'm sitting here in drive, and I have it in the efficient mode with the sport suspension setting and the sport wheel setting, and I am not on the brake or the gas, and I'm sitting here going nowhere. This is what I meant by this kind of semi-automatic transmission. About seven speeds, and when you get going, you have to be really careful from a first impressions perspective, because if you get into the gas, there's rubber, and that wasn't even a quarter throttle. It is a vehicle that is all about being smooth, and it's brutish. It's very much like driving a 446 pack, from the 70s, early 70s, late 60s, or Dodge Charger or Chevelle SS 454. It's that kind of raw power, but it has all these systems to help keep you on the road. The question I have from a first impressions perspective is, this is me just putting my foot about halfway down. It's guttural. It's just crazy amounts of power from a first impressions perspective. The steering is fairly heavy in this vehicle, even in the comfort setting, and the suspension is probably the best part of this vehicle because it is stiff even in the comfort setting, yet not it doesn't like jar you constantly as you're trying to drive around in town. So it can do some in-town duty and some daily driving. The question I have from a first impressions perspective is, do I want to drive this car daily? Isn't this more of a prestige car, more of something you drive on the weekends when the weather is nice and when there's no traffic and you have that open road and you're going to a track day? That's what I think about this M4. I have trouble, given how heavy the steering is, how much power it has, and when you get used to driving it, you have to get used to being smooth, being little throttle inputs, easing into the throttle like we are now. But still, with the traction control and the anti-skid systems, you can still catch rubber at high speeds and when it's shifting between gears. It was just dinging there to tell me that the outside temperature is low and there could be ice. Imagine that in Colorado in the wintertime. This is a lovely designed vehicle. It's got a ton of kit on it, a ton of technology. It is super powerful, and it shows just how far the car industry has come from a performance and perspective, and also from an ability to get more out of less, because we have gone to that 3-liter twin turbo engine. We'll have more for you in the real video, the real review, so stay tuned for that. And until then, we hope you come back for more reviews. Watch our real wrap-up coming up next, and well, we'll have more on this M4 coming down the road. So that's the Real First Impressions video edition on the 2015 BMW M4. This M4 has seen a lot of change since its previous M3 Coupe predecessor. It is a vehicle that comes in as tested at right about $86,000, just a little bit over, and it has a lot of power, 425 horsepower, 406 foot-pounds of torque, and still decent fuel economy for a vehicle that'll go 0 to 60 in a hair under 4 seconds, with 17 in town, 24 out on the highway, and that 19 mile per gallon combined. The challenge with the first impressions, and when we drive this vehicle right off the bat, it is a very difficult vehicle to get used to from the beginning. With the dual transmission or dual clutch transmission that it has, being kind of semi-automatic with no creep in the automatic, you really have to get used to the throttle input on this M4. You can lay rubber with all the traction control on fairly easily, especially in a high gear like reverse. And when you're not used to driving something so high horsepower and with so much torque in such a small and light vehicle, right around that 3,400 pound mark is what I would estimate, this vehicle is really a handful, and it's not one that is pleasant really to drive on the street with all the traction control stuff turned off from a first impressions perspective. Now we're going to live with this vehicle for a little bit longer and give you the real video, the real review, the detailed review on this vehicle coming up down the road. So make sure you take a look a few months down the road for that, and make sure you come back for more videos with me, Jonathan McGrew, right here at Real Auto Reports, coming from Real Auto Ranch, and we will see you down the road.